Harvest Temple Church of Restoration presents Harvest Broadcast with Pastor Kelvin R. Dunn, Senior Lead Pastor and Founder. Let us join the broadcast, currently in progress.
With the theme of the programs, because the title of the program, it's entitled Fear Factor. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear. The strongest and oldest emotion of mankind is fear. It appears that everybody is afraid of something. Some of us are afraid of many things. I know when I was little, I used to be afraid of dogs. I recently have overcome and conquered that fear, but I used to be scared of dogs, man. The dog started barking, I started running. He ain't even got to come at me. It just, I just keep it real with you. If the dog came, if I heard the dog bark, all depending on how strong that bark was, it depending on how much bass was in that bark, I was gone. I was running. In the neighborhood that we grew up in, it was a large circle. One way in, one way out, but the neighborhood was one big old circle. And so there were certain places in the neighborhood that we knew who had a dog. We knew what kind of dog they had. I'll never forget, there was this one particular house, the Stewart's house, and they was right on the corner. And they had Doberman Pinschers. They had guard dogs at their house. And so anytime that the garage door would go up and somebody was getting ready to come out, usually the dogs would come racing. I'm talking, man, they were like a greyhound. It was like a greyhound chasing that rabbit. They would just come up out that garage, and if anybody was around, they coming at you. But the owner would say a command in German, and literally the dogs would stop, and they would just halt. I mean, they would just come to a stop. And man, if you saw the garage door go up, you would be praying that Mr. Stewart was going to be on the other side of that door, of that garage door, to tell those dogs to halt, to stop. Look like we're running into a connection with Facebook Live again. All right. We keep going. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going until it comes back. So, I had a phobia with the dogs. So, I was scared of dogs, and especially like German Shepherds, Dobermans, and, Rottweilers. Man, when I was growing up, 80s, 90s, wasn't too much talk about pit bulls. Pit bulls was more up here on the East Coast, wasn't a lot of pit bulls down south. Not as it is now. Shalom, thank you for joining. Wasn't a lot back then. So, but pit bulls, all that. So now, man, I've seen some dogs that, man, if the dog was to stand up, I'm 6'2.5". Might be 6'3", but I've seen some dogs. I've seen a Great Dane that his head probably comes. I could probably prop my arm on top of this Great Dane's head. That's how, and he's on all fours now. This is a dog that comes to our job, and I could literally prop my arm up on this Great Dane's head. That's how tall he sits, and I stand 6'2.5", 6'3". Now you can imagine if this dog was to stand up on all fours, I would probably be ready to just run out the door. But I've conquered that fear. Had a dog when I was little. Had a German Shepherd named Nick. Got him for Christmas. And Saint Nick was a good old dog till something happened and drove him mad. And that joker literally jumped on me and knocked me down in the backyard. Boy, I thought I was done. But everybody has been afraid or is afraid of something or many things. So my question is simply, what is it? What is the it? What is it that you are afraid of? I can say personally, I say this personally. Thank you, Christopher, for joining. Shalom to you. I'll say this, that for me, it was, good evening, sir. Shalom to you. I say for me, it was one of my fears as I got older was when I heard the call of God upon my life, and I heard the voice of the Lord, and I had a calling to be to pastor. I sat back and I literally watched my mother, I watched my father, I watched all that they went through as far as church, and coming through the church and going up in, as we say, in the ranks of the church, watching the disappointments, watching the put you on the back seat, things of that nature, to where I was like, man, if that's what this is all about, I don't want to have no dealings with it. I just be a little pew member, tap on these drums, and that's all I'm gonna do. That's all I'm looking forward to doing. But as I got older, as I started maturing, as I started reading the Word, as I started studying to show myself approved, as I just really started eating, I have a hunger for God's knowledge. I have a hunger for God's Word. I want to know. I hear, we say and do a lot of stuff, but I want to know, is it scriptural? If we can back it up in the scriptures, then we good. If we can't back it up with the scriptures, and we got to try to twist and tweak and twerk with the scripture, if it ain't fully, if the foundation ain't there, I can't roll with it. I can't roll with it. I have to roll out and can't roll with it. So I've been sitting back and I've been watching and I've been listening and I've been digging and studying in this Word to find out some stuff that I grew up, knowing, because a lot of times the ministries and the pastors that I grew up under, they had a little bit of learning, they had a little bit of education. So it was, different stroke for different folk. But now, I'll go back and I challenge some of the stuff that I've learned. I challenge some of the stuff that I've seen. So what is it? What is it? What is it? IT. What is the it in your life? What is it that you are afraid of? What is it that keeps you from fulfilling your purpose? Now, remember, we just got done with our series, The Seed in All of Us, the seed of greatness. And we talked about having potential. We talked about your purpose. We talked about that with the potential, it comes to purpose. And then with the purpose, it comes productivity. It's time to produce. It's time to put in action. It's time to put it in gear and get to going, get to doing what God has purposed for you to do in your life. So the question is, what is it that stops you from doing that? What is it that keeps you from doing or being what God has called and said for you to be? What is it? What is it? For we said that fear is an unpleasant, often strong emotion that's caused by anticipation or awareness of danger. So, Satan has very successfully learned how to manipulate fear to basically he manipulates fear to detriment the work of God. That is one of his, I'm going to say one of his weapons. That's one of his arsenals that he likes to pull out, is he loves to pull out the fear factor card. He loves to pull out that fear factor card and give you a few acronyms for fear. Y'all know how we do. Y'all know how we roll. Some of y'all, this is not your first time on the broadcast, but listen, make sure if you got your pen, if you got your paper, something to write on, something to write with, got your Bible, come on, take some notes, get you some nuggets. Let's get this, share this. Share this with your spirit followers. Share this with your sphere of influence. Come on. Because let me give you a few acronyms for the word fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real. You probably have heard this before. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear can be false emotions appearing real. False emotions appearing real. Fear can be false expectations altering reality. False expectations, because that's what your mind will do. The enemy will play on your mind, play on your emotions, that if you were in that dark room on the Fear Factor show, you was in that dark room and you couldn't see your hand in front of your face and something reached out and touched you. Whatever that your fear, whatever that it is that you fear of, if you have a fear of snakes, you have a phobia of a spider, you have a phobia, you're claustrophobic, whatever phobic, all that starts playing in your mind. If that is your greatest fear, that comes to the forefront of your mind. And so now the false expectation that your mind is giving you is altering your reality.
Thanks for watching Harvest Broadcast. This has been a production of Harvest Temple Ministries, the ministries of Harvest Temple Church of Restoration. Follow Pastor K on Facebook, Periscope. Subscribe and like us on YouTube.